Hello, welcome to Catholic Life, ordinary people with extraordinary faith. I'm Deacon Jody Moscona. Thanks for joining us today. Today I'm joined by one of my high school buddies, Richard Meeks, he runs the commentator. He runs all the media around here at the diocese, I guess, these days. But been around the block and back a few times. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very good. How are you?
Making it through COVID?
Making it okay so far. Knock on wood, right?
Knock on wood. Amen.
Yeah, I guess doing what I'm supposed to be
doing. And we got our
doing,
masks on the floor, so we did have them.
So, we all masked up.
We're masked up. So look, so much is going on in the church. We got St. Joseph year. We got all kind of stuff. Right. But through all of this, the umbrella is Catholic media. It's how we kind of hold it together, and that's your forte. You know, that's where you came from. So when Steve and I would talk about, man, let's do something to expose Catholic media, he said, Richard.
Right.
So thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Sure. I think at this point, you know, let's face it, the world has changed in the past several years for a number of reasons, right? And we all have to admit it, we acknowledge it, we're living through it with the pandemic. Who would have ever thought a little disease could bring the world to its knees? And I think what you have going on is people are coming at everything from different angles, okay? They're bringing their own agendas. What's more important out there today than Catholic media? Where can you turn to find your faith, to find how to live out your life, to find the gospel message? Is with Catholic media. And I think it's just a great treasure of this diocese. And this diocese is extremely fortunate because it has, I'm going to start with Catholic Life TV, but it has a fabulous TV station that does tremendous work. I think we do okay at the commentator. I'm proud.
I think y'all do okay. You've won a few awards.
I think we do okay there. And Catholic Community Radio. I mean, what a great resource Catholic Community Radio is. So this diocese is unusual in the sense that it has these three great media entities. How many other dioceses around the country can boast of this?
Yeah, not many.
No, not many.
And you know, but Richard, one of the things that I've learned is how blessed we are to be here. And by here, I mean a Catholic cradle area.
Right, right.
Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, a little bit in the southern Mississippi, you know, almost to Mobile, you know, if you think about it. We're in a little bit of a sweet spot for Catholicism. So we need it.
We need it. And it's interesting. I love when you talk about the geographical parameters, because when I tell people, and I've lived in Mississippi, so when I tell people Catholicism is strong south of I-10. And then when you get over this way, and tell me I'm wrong, when you get over this way, Catholicism is strong south of I-10 and south of I-12. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. Yeah. And of course, that's a little bit facetious. But it is. Especially in southern Mississippi, there is a clear delineation right there.
Absolutely. Well, say Stanislaus is there. And then when you get to the interstate, Baptist country.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you go to the Kill. There's not a lot of Catholic churches.
Right. That's right. So we're in an area where we need to be pumped up, kind of, sort of, you know, and the media availability provides some of that. Yeah,
it does. And we do have to be pumped up, because if you just rely on secular media for everything, in these times, I've been around the business a long time. It's changed, and I'm not saying it's changed for bad or good. I'm not making a judgment on that, but it has changed. And sometimes you need that encouragement. So, just start with Catholic Life TV and just, because that's where we are now, and just start with your show. Look at the people you bring on the show and the title, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Faith, okay, So you get these people on here, and you get these guys or these women talking about their own faith. They're talking about their own lives. That's an example. That is a role model right there. And you do a good job of bringing out the best in them. So if you're watching that show, okay, you might be sitting on the sofa saying, I want to get involved. I just don't have the time, or whatever it might be. And they're going to watch your show, and that person you're interviewing is heavily involved, and they don't have the time either. Right. They'd like to be sitting on the sofa. But what they do is they take that extra step and say, you know what, I'm going to live out the gospel message. This is the way I'm going to live out my own life as an imitation of Christ. You look and look what Catholic Life TV does. There's never been a more important time, I think, in the history of Catholic Life TV than right now, because the impact the TV station is making is tremendous. You can just start with the Mass, okay? How many people are homebound right now? We had a lockdown. We had churches closed. My goodness, you couldn't even go to Mass. Who would have ever thought that you would walk up to Mass on a Sunday and the doors were locked, go home? So these people, they're not getting communion, they're not getting the gospel, whatever. So what Catholic Life TV has done, and of course what a lot of parishes have done too, but they have reached out and said, okay, we're going to put this on TV. And of course they always had the Sunday Mass, but now they have a daily Mass. A daily Mass every morning at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I get a ding on my phone every morning when it starts.
So there you go. So this is bringing the gospel message into people, in some cases probably bedrooms, because they're probably lying in bed sometimes. You know, for me, 8 in the morning is early, so I'm lying in the bed. But you're still you're getting that gospel message brought to you through Bishop Duca, who's just a fabulous homilist anyway. So, and this is 7 days or 6 days a week. This is fabulous. Where would these people be? And they can't get communion in person if you're at home, but you get spiritual communion. So that's something.
And Richard, there's another part of this. I'm glad you brought that up, because Bishop Duca is a descendant of the apostles.
Right.
And when history-wise, the apostles are the ones that brought the message.
Right.
And here the people get to hear their apostle, their descendant of the apostle, apostolic succession every day.
Right, exactly.
How awesome is that? That you get to hear a descendant of the apostles through apostolic succession every day by sitting at home and watching TV.
Well, sit home, yeah, exactly. I mean, you can sit there with a Coke and a bag of popcorn, but you can still, you're watching the Mass. That message is getting to you, and the spiritual communion is there. You look at some of the other shows that, Beacons of Light, okay? Michael Caldo does tremendous work, but his volunteers, okay? To me, those volunteers, what they do, those are Jesus's boots on the ground. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Absolutely.
And they're out there among the needy. They're out there among the homeless. They're ministering to them. They are really following the gospel message, because this is what Jesus did 2,000 years ago. He didn't walk in Baton Rouge, but he set the precedent for what's happening now in Baton Rouge with Michael's volunteers. And then even the year of St. Joseph, right? And who's our patron saint in the Diocese of Baton Rouge? Catholic Life TV, Steve's doing St. Joseph Reflections. We're doing St. Joseph Reflections in the commentator. So that's just, so you could say, okay, right there itself, you can see what a gift Catholic Life TV is to Roots of Faith.
They do the Roots of Faith ancestry that just shows you how important our church was with historical records through the archive office. People wouldn't know about that if it wasn't for the TV station.
No, it's amazing, because this diocese is so rich in its history. I mean, that's one of the things I love about it. I love going up and down the Mississippi, River Road, or going down up and down Bayou Lafourche, because the people are tremendous. That's the first thing right there. People are tremendous. You go to Pankerville, Platenville, Union, Convent. I mean, people are just evacuated. They welcome you with open arms. Yes, you're one of us.
Yeah.
And then when you get past the people, look at the structures. Look at the churches. You couldn't build a church.
They're beautiful.
Go to Pankerville. Go to St. Elizabeth. You couldn't build a church like that today.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah. And you get to see a lot of that just by sitting at home watching it on TV.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And all the priests deserve a lot of credit that have gone online and live streaming their masses.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We did it on Facebook, and then we had stopped it. Now we're really talking about redoing it because of the spike.
I think you almost have to. I mean, I think it's a good idea because, we have a mask mandate, of course, a mask recommendation at church, not a mandate. But who knows what's going to happen in the future, though? I mean, cases continue to rise.
Well,
and then also the commentator. You know, I think the commentator, and I'm a little bit prejudiced with this, but I think the commentator is another valuable tool. And remember, all of these media outlets are definitely evangelization tools.
Tell you a little story. So I get ordained a deacon in June, okay, and I get assigned to LSU, okay, to Christ the King.
Right.
And at the time, Father Ton was the pastor, and Father Carville was the associate, but Father Carville was the vicar general, right? And Father Carville does a story every week, an article every week. And so they invite me to their first staff meeting. I'm not quite in the parish yet because it's not July 1st. And so I go to New Orleans to the meeting, and I walk in and I go right up to Father Carville and says, I read your article every week. I love it. And one of the staffers says, you know, he's not the pastor, right?
Well, I tell you what, when you had Father Ton and Father Carville, you were with the 18.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it.
That was you in greatness right there.
And so I guess I just put a plug in for Father Carville's article every week.
I was going to touch on that, but yes, you know, Father Carville, because he breaks down the faith. He talks about different ways to reflect. He brings the faith into our living room. Okay,
right.
And it's you know, again, as a columnist, you know, sometimes you may agree with him, sometimes you may not. That's the role of a columnist.
Right.
But he does a tremendous job of what the way he writes and the way he breaks everything down. Right. I think Dina Dow does a tremendous job with gospel readings. I mean, she writes it for the next 2 weeks out, and I like it because obviously I'm reading it, and then I go to Mass, and the gospel comes up. It's like, wait a second. Yeah, Dina said that. You know, and it really is, what she does is so insightful, and it really breaks it down as well, where she always has a strong message.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break in just a second, but I want to remind everybody that the commentator is now distributed widely across the diocese at all sorts of outlets. I mean, I go to the grocery store, dry cleaners, you know, all over. It's always there. And if you're having any trouble finding it, all you need to do is call, and they'll point you in the right direction. We get them at our parish and put them in the stands, and we always have an abundance of them, you know, available for everybody. I look forward for when the guy shows up with them, because I want to get the first one. Because I want to see what's on the front page, because I'm one of those kind of geeks, you know?
Right, of course, yes.
But so we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the commentator and move on to Catholic Radio. Okay. Stay with us. We're talking to Richard Meek, head of the commentator and media in Baton Rouge for Catholic Life, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Pope Francis' recent proclamation on St. Joseph, named Patris Corde, which means with the Father's heart, he invites us to celebrate a year of St. Joseph. It is with deep joy that I announce our diocesan year of St. Joseph from May 1st this year, the feast of St. Joseph the Worker, and concluding next year, March 19th, on the feast of St. Joseph, the spouse of Mary. Our unique timing allows us to also celebrate this year the 60th anniversary the Diocese of Baton Rouge. Called by God to directly serve the person and mission of Jesus Christ, St. Joseph's unfailing devotion to the Holy Family and humble obedience to God's will is the beacon which guides our earthly pilgrimage as missionary disciples. As a diocese under the protection of St. Joseph since 1961, we too are called to diligently serve Jesus Christ, in whom we find our hope. In this light, I encourage each of you to actively participate in the various activities, events, and liturgies planned throughout this festive season as we follow the heart of St. Joseph, rejoicing in the blessings of our faith-filled community, and offer thanksgiving to God for 60 years of vitality as the Diocese of Baton Rouge. For more information, visit our website at diobr.org.
Welcome back to Catholic Life. I'm so glad that you stayed with us through the break. We're talking about Catholic media and all things media today, and we started with television, which is electronic media, and now we're talking about the old standby, the paper, the newspaper, which will never go away, even though you can get it online. You know, I like to have it in my hand and read it. And you've done a great job, Richard, transforming that paper from what it used to be, which was kind of awkward and hard, to using different paper and different font, and different pictures and color, and it really is. And you've won awards, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know about. No. But for those that don't know, the Commentator is a treasure. I mean, just go read it. There's so much, it's chock full.
We try. That's one of when I got here, my biggest priority was local. And, you know, many issues. We don't have any national news because in this day and age, people are getting their national news from Catholic news, even from so many different outlets. But what they're getting in the Catholic Commentator, they can't get anywhere else.
Right, it's just local stuff.
It's not going to be in the secular media, obviously, because it's not going to be on a national. So if you want to know what's going on in the diocese, you have, you know, in my opinion, you'll find it in the Commentator.
Absolutely.
And one of the things with different aspects, different components of what we do at the paper, racial harmony. You know, every other issue we have once a month, we have a story on racial harmony. And it could be like African Americans doing great things in their parishes, whatever it might be. That's important. We have a story on, and once a month, we have a vocations page. And these are some truly inspiring stories.
They are, absolutely.
It's just amazing. You know, some of the stories you come across, and either women religious or men. And I did a story a couple of years ago with a woman, and she was getting ready to take her final vows, and she was a cloistered nun. And she was so verbose and so talkative. And she was just fabulous. And I spent probably almost close to 2 hours with her on the phone just talking, right? I said, I got to ask you something. I said, you cloistered nun, I mean, you like to talk a lot. She says, yeah, and this is where I need to be at this time. But, you know, she will get transferred at some time. She says, I hope they transfer me somewhere where I can talk. But, you know, it was that personality. And just but you dig behind and you go a little bit deeper. And you dig behind the collar and you dig behind the habit. And it's just amazing, these individuals. Like, how do you do this? You know, we're talking about vocations. We also have St. Joseph reflections, different people writing those. It's also the 60th anniversary of the diocese. So within each issue, we run a picture from the past.
Some of those were awesome pictures.
Oh, I know. Probably embarrassed a few people, right?
Oh,
that's what it looked like back then.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I know. But it's just good.
Just good, wholesome stuff.
Take that look back. We also love to. Good example. We love to highlight what people are doing in a sense, like St. Mary's Chapel down in Union, 1875. They doing. They launched Friends of St. Mary's Chapel, okay? They want to revitalize this church. And it is awesome when you walk in there. I mean, you could hold a mass in there tomorrow. But just, again, as we talked about, the old style church.
So tell everybody where St. Mary's is and tell them a little bit about it.
It's in Union. It's 10 miles from Convent. It was never a parish. It was always a chapel for St. Michael. I know, and it closed back in 1998.
It's actually closer to where Emails is. That way from Convent. Not down the river, but up the river.
Up the river, yes. Yeah. What's interesting is St. Michael is in the center, and then Paulina is to the to the east, I guess, and St. Michael to the west. I mean, St. Mary's to the west. The reason that is because in the church, traditionally, your Marian Chapel is to the left, and your St. Joseph Chapel is to the right. No, and that's why it was purposely built that way.
That's awesome.
A
little bit of history, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. Isn't that great? So we do things like that. You know, these are just neat stories. You run across people. I have to tell you a quick story where at St. Mary's Chapel, they had an open house. And so this one fellow was there. He was 90 years old, and he was filming with the iPad. He's 90 years old. He's like a pro.
Wow.
He's like a 20-year-old. Then he asked this one fella, he says, well, can I use my drone? And it's like he's 90 years old. Just a remarkable guy. So these are, but when these are the kind of stories we try to bring out.
Right, absolutely.
And Debbie Shelley does a really good job from the spiritual sense and with spiritual stories. And I think these are the kind of stories that really make a difference. Then with Catholic Community Radio, I mean, you know what's cool about Catholic? There's so many good things about Catholic Community Radio, but they do a show every day, Wake Up, with Gabby and Alyssa and a couple other people. Sometimes, Jeff's on there, David Dawson might be on there. Here is talk radio at its best. Catholic talk radio at its best because they're so personable. You really feel like
you know how that
they
show
sit
started, huh?
No, I don't.
Well, it was me and Mike and David. We started that show, and Johnny. And
Really?
we started it before. First, when Catholic Community Radio started, we were a little iTunes thing playing music at the tower. And then we launched a show. And the only reason I got invited was because I knew how to get in and out of breaks.
Okay.
Johnny was the spiritual guy. Although I was a deacon. And we started, it was called Wake Up Baton Rouge. And I did it for 3 years. And eventually, I was not needed anymore because it took off. And you see what it is now.
My God,
and then when they got the almighty 690,
okay,
in New Orleans, we grew up. It was the mighty 690.
Yes, it was.
And when they were trying to buy that station, they said we're going to be the almighty 690.
Almighty.
And so now we have 690 there.
Right.
We have the 1380 here. We have, of course, it's online. They have a FM booster now, and it's exploded. And you're right. That show in the morning is fabulous.
It really is. I'm thankful for this, but every 2 weeks they tolerate me for a few minutes in the morning show to talk about the commentators. So I'm very grateful for that. But think about this too. So here's radio, and so Gabby and them just do a tremendous job. At noon you have the Rosary. At 3 o'clock you have the Divine Chaplain. I mean, where else are you going to get this? Again, these are things just from the comfort of your home. And they have Ave Maria Radio. So their shows are tremendous. Father Chris Decker does Catholic Underground. All of these different shows, and it really begs the question, and you tie all of things together into a package, where would we be without Catholic media?
Yeah, I met Teresa Tomeo because her show followed us in the morning. And I met her through the phone, and her husband became a deacon, Dominic, and we walked through that together. And now I have a media friend all the way in Detroit. We don't talk that often because we're so busy, but it's nice to know when I see her stuff come across Facebook, I feel like I have a partner,
Right, sure.
And that's how media is. You have developed those kind of relationships, and the radio station with Gabby and all have developed those relationships. Steve has developed relationships, and that's why it works, because we can pull from all those places to put in front of people what they need.
Right, and Deacon Jody, one of the beauties about Catholic media too is it provides a roadmap on how to lead your life. You could just, even if you just watch TV, or even if you just community radio, or if you just read the commentator. It's still, but what I like about it too, though, is not everybody is faith-filled. Not everybody's on the same level of faith. But no matter where you are in your faith life, okay, even if it's not there, but you still tune into Catholic Life TV, or you say, man, I'm going to pick up the commentator because I want to see this story. Okay, it doesn't matter because you're going to get directions on how to lead your life, how to lead a good moral life, which you should be doing if you have faith or not.
What I was going to say, which just struck me, that's why I jumped on it, is because you put pictures in there of the kids at their schools.
Right.
And now their parents are going to go to it. They might not go to church.
Right,
but
of
they're picking up the commentator because a picture of their kid is in there.
Right, and it's right. And you think about that, that's true because, statistics tell us the majority of Catholics, unfortunately, do not attend Sunday Mass on a regular basis. But yeah, well, and I love getting kids' pictures in the paper. I'm sorry, dude, because people are going to pick it up, and they got to show it. And Grandma might live like in South Dakota, but she's getting the paper because she's getting this issue of the paper because little Johnny's in there, and it's great though. It's great, and the kids love seeing it, and it also gives exposure to the schools, and that's equally as important as well.
Right, and so we also are reaching out to. Like my in-laws live with us, they're almost 90. He reads the paper every day. Well, he reads the commentator every other week because I bring it to him and he wants to see it in the paper. I can get it online. I'm just as happy watching it on my computer screen. I don't because I'm kind of old too. And I do like to see the pictures right there, But you're reaching a whole bunch of people because of the variation of the media. Some people don't want to listen to the radio, but they want to watch TV.
Right.
Some people want to watch TV, but they want to watch it on a computer. Hitting everybody.
Right, and it's important because it is important because you're hitting everybody no matter where they are in their faith lives. And it could, like I said, it could be somebody that may not have a strong faith life, but we're still called as a human being. Let's step away from the faith for a second. We still call as a human being to lead a good moral life where you can tune into Catholic Life TV, watch or listen to the radio, read the Catholic commentator. And there's directions. It's almost like a step-by-step. This is what you can do.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And we are really blessed in Baton Rouge to have such a wide variety and have good people like yourself running it.
Thank you.
Steve, who runs this station, David, who runs the radio station. We're blessed with dedicated Christian people, Catholic people who are focused on giving people wholesome Catholic information.
Right, and the key is, I know Steve feels this way, is it's not a job. I mean, this isn't a job we come to every day. It's a ministry that we're involved in. And that's the big difference right there between going to a job and working through a ministry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where the dedication and devotion comes from. And give up a lot of your free time, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Because I go on assignments sometimes and I'm thinking, man, I'm getting paid for this. Wow. What's the rest of the world doing?
I hear you. So we want to thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
We want to encourage everybody to take advantage of the different media that we have here in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. And we definitely want to thank the Bishop for supporting all these different media ministries. So encourage you to take advantage of what's out there. And we want to thank you taking advantage of it right now because you're watching. So thank you so much for watching the show. And we appreciate you so much. And we'll pray for you and you pray for us. God bless everyone. Until next time.